Oh, this is the emergency alert.
Yep. Good morning. Welcome to Caffeinate Your Career. Today's topic, questions to ask recruiters versus the hiring manager. I'm your host, the career coach with the most, Jason Hopper. With me today is the super senior director of HR here at JFS, Miss Ashley Leonard. Ashley, welcome back to Caffeinate Your Career.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
We're kind of like we're like off just a little bit because they're doing we're doing the paging system to make sure that the paging is actually working in the building, and it was happening right at this moment. So
and it's working.
It is working. Yeah, and I'm checking to see if we are live, and I think we are. So great. Ashley, interviewing is rough. By the way, you know what? We're gonna do this we're gonna do the commercial straight up now, right? So interviewing is hard, guys. We do have we are live. We do have a virtual interview practice program, VIP Squared. We do it every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Central Time. I have a whole team of interviewers that are ready to assist you. What happens is you'll log in. I will put you and the interviewer into a breakout room. They will interview you for 30 minutes. Then there will be 15 minutes of feedback, and then you're done. You can log off, and at the end of the week, they will send me a feedback form that I will forward on to you, and you will have something tangible in your hand to look at and things that you might want to improve on for your interviewing. It is really the one misstep that I see job hunters make time and again is you do not put in enough practice. You have to practice the interview. If you don't, it's not going to go well, I guarantee. So make sure that you practice, and you're like, oh my gosh, Jason, that sounds awesome. How do I get into that? Email me. My email is Hopper, HOPPER @JFSDallas.org. Put practice interview in the subject line. I'm going to need your resume and also job title you want to interview for. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and have it list, say you're an accountant, list interview questions for an accountant position. And it's going to list those, and then we're going to just go off and answer those questions for you. So jhopper @jfsdallas.org. We're full up today, but next week I got 4 spots available. They will go fast. Hit me up. Get on the list, and let's get you into a practice interview today. All right. That's the commercial for today. So there's a big difference between asking questions of the recruiter and asking questions of the hiring manager. You can't ask the recruiter, oh, what's the day-to-day like in this? They don't know that. That's not their job. The recruiter's job is to assess and see if you understand or will be a fit for the role that they are actively recruiting. All the recruiter knows about the role is what they have in front of them on the job requisition, and really not much more than that, right? So the two dynamics are going to be different. We'll get into both of them. But Ashley, what would be a good question a candidate can ask a recruiter?
Right. So before we delve into that, I do want to make one distinction. So when I'm full-time recruiter hat on, one of the first things that I do after I have the requisition, we get that open, I review the job description. The next step is I schedule an intake call, which most recruiters are really familiar with that process with the hiring manager. And that's it can be a 15, 20-minute call for me to delve in deeper to this job. So I'm like, okay, I have the paper. Yeah. I know what you say you need, what the must-haves are versus the preferred skills, qualities. I see that. But talk to me, what is it that we're really looking for? And so during that intake call, that's where they really give me the nitty gritty, I really need this, and here's why. We're building X, Y, and Z. Yeah. I don't have that expertise. I need someone who can hit the ground running, who has all of that. So when they kind of give me those stories to help me understand, this is when I plug them in, this is how they fit in the puzzle, that really helps me understand what I'm looking for when I start doing the phone screenings or whatever the process is. Yeah. So that intake call is really important because it tells me a little bit what's beyond the job description, to your point, because when you're doing a lot of screenings for a lot of different roles, it can all get fuzzy. Like it's like, okay, I have this one, and I'm just trying to get it through. But when I have that intake call with the hiring manager, that gives me a story that sticks with me a little bit differently than what I'm just seeing on the paper.
That's smart and important, especially because I think a lot of times job postings aren't really updated like they should be, right? Because it's like, we need an admin. Gladys has been here for 20 years and she's retiring now. So we need an admin. Do we have a job posting? Oh, yeah, here, we've got that. Okay, let's repost that. Okay, that was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, like
20 years ago,
right? And like I remember when I was in staffing and I had a job posting for an admin and I emailed the hiring manager 5 resumes. I got back the response. I don't see anywhere in here where it says they're strong in Excel. And I'm like, it says nothing at all on the job posting about Excel.
Right.
Right? Like, if that's what you want, tell me or put it in the job posting, right? But I think like the recruiters, it's a good idea to be on the same page with the person. And us being like a smaller company, we're able to have those conversations versus recruiting, because I've done some corporate recruiting as well. And it's just a huge machine and just trying to get on somebody's radar.
Yeah.
A lot of it's like hit and miss.
Yeah. So to your first question, so one question that's good to ask the recruiter is, what does the interview process look like? I think that's fantastic. It helps set up the expectations for you, knowing ahead of time as the recruiter, like this is a question that someone may ask me. So making sure that I'm ahead and being proactive, that I understand with the hiring manager, in addition to the intake call, what would you like to see for this hiring process? Do you want a phone screen and then maybe a virtual interview with someone else on your team, and then a final in-person interview with you? Would you like a panel interview? So setting that up is also a part of the intake process sometimes. So that way you have all of your ducks in a row, so you're best prepared for those candidates once you get them on the phone. And so if someone asks me what's the interview process, like, it feels good to be able to tell them, oh, that's a great question. So you'll do this phone screen with me. I'm going to send the notes over to the manager. If they feel that you're a good fit, they will, they'll invite you to an in-person interview. I'll be the point of contact to coordinate that for you all. So I just like to go through the logistics with them. And so again, it's on the recruiter to be ahead and make sure you're proactive so you can answer that question. I think that's a fantastic question for applicants to ask, though. It really helps set up their expectations as well. So that way, if they don't get a phone call, then they also can kind of know, like, oh, maybe I wasn't the best fit. Let me keep looking, versus like sitting and waiting, not knowing if someone's going to call them or not. Like if I tell you before the end of the week, I'll give you a call if we're scheduling a different interview. And if you don't get that call, then they're like, okay, I probably know that I'm not the right fit, and then you can anticipate maybe an email or something like that.
I think that candidates, job seekers, should continue to look whether they have something pending or not, including offers, right? But I think that's a great question to ask, especially because you want to be prepared and know what's going to happen. I had a client a couple of years ago, and they told him from the get, this will be an 8-interview process.
That's awesome. Good to know that ahead of time.
Yeah, he was interviewing at Deloitte, right?
Yeah.
And they told him there will be 8 interviews. So he knew going into it, it was going to be a long and drawn-out process. I don't think that. I think that's a little bit much, but whatever's going to work for them. But he got hired.
That's great.
And he ended up getting hired. So, that worked out just fine. Just in the chat, I see you, Sharon Harris. Thanks for watching. There's actually 6 people watching live. So,
nice.
I think, and by the way, just so that you guys know, this is all the notes for the Caffeinate Your Career they're all AI generated. And then we just create talking points for me and Ashley to just discuss. And one of the questions on there was, what is the timeline for hiring, or how soon are you looking to fill this role? Ashley, how do you feel about that question?
So what I will say is that typically it's only going to be two options. Either like you're an organization that has a hiring kind of like a hiring schedule. So, like for instance, I worked for a nonprofit at one point that we really did all of our hiring in the summer. So that's when we did our hiring. And so all of our new hires came through together, one big cohort who started like July 1. They started at the top of our fiscal year. And so in the spring, that's when we were doing all our recruiting. And then they were hired and starting in July. And so other than that, we were only hiring if it was to backfill a role. But so for the most part, it was we could contain our hiring. So in every other organization I've been in, it's different, right? It's all about like we may have this position that opens up tomorrow, and it's like, okay, I got to fill that now, yes. Or we're backfilling or something like that. So what I will say is either option one, like the organization, the company is on this like strategic timeline for hiring. So if I interview in March, and maybe that 8-step process where it's like we have these 8 steps, but you don't start till July 1, right? So then you know what to expect, or it's an immediate fill. So it's really only those two things. Like I need this person yesterday. So it's going to be something that I need you to start as soon as possible. It's just a matter of like people needing to give proper notice to their current employer. You know, if they're currently working somewhere, if they're not, how quickly can the hiring team get their onboarding ducks in a row, you know, so to allow at least a week for them to prepare for someone who maybe isn't currently working. They could start tomorrow, but the team needs time to get prepared. So maybe they need about a week before you start. So I would say it's really, I've only seen it those two ways. Either I need them today, I needed them as soon as possible, or I have a really strategic plan for when they start.
I think that's interesting that everybody started at the beginning of July.
Mm-hmm. It was fantastic.
Well, yeah, for you.
For me.
but like for the person that's getting hired, it's like, okay, it's the beginning of June, and I'm starting in July. Mm-hmm. I'm unemployed. I still have bills to pay. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. So it's a great, that's a great point. So for people who are currently working, that could be easier to digest. Sure. Someone who isn't working and needs to start now and started the process in March and knows I have a job, but it doesn't start until July, that could be, troublesome and you have to find other types of work to buy your time until that job starts. So I definitely see your perspective on that. But on the hiring end, it does make things a little bit smoother.
I'll warn everybody. I just, for the most part, and asking the recruiter or asking that question, I think it's not the best question, just because it's like I don't know until we find the right person. You know what I mean? It's like, well, how soon are you looking to fill? I'm looking to fill today, but until I find the right person, we're going to keep interviewing. Right. And that's like I have in the chat, hey Yolanda, and also Rhonda is watching. Rhonda Robinson, who is our career and financial coach here. Rhonda says, is it okay to follow up with a recruiter or HR person you've interviewed with, not over and over to be a pest, but at least once? Ashley, what do you think?
For sure. I definitely think that's okay. When I'm in my best recruiter mode, hopefully I don't make people wait too long to hear back from me regardless. So again, if my commit was like by the end of the week, if the hiring manager has decided to move forward, I'll coordinate that. If on Friday the hiring manager has told me that they're not moving forward with the candidate, my hope would be that I could at least send them an email letting them know that we're not moving them forward, so that way they hear from me within a respectable amount of time. But say someone got antsy and they just wanted some sort of response, it's totally okay to reach out to the recruiter just to ask for a follow-up, and either they have an answer or they don't, because sometimes hiring managers are busy, right? And especially when they're trying to like fill multiple roles at one time, or they're trying to fill in for the person that's missing, so they're busy and they don't get back to me right away. And so there may be a time where like I really just don't have an answer because I haven't heard back from the hiring manager. So it's totally fine for a candidate to reach out and say like, hey, just wanted to check in, and the recruiter will be as honest as possible about where they are in the process.
Yeah, I think so for follow-up, it's a great idea to email the interviewer before close of business that day. I think it's a great idea to go out and get like some blank thank you notes.
That is still a nice
Write
touch.
it out, drop it in the mail. It'll get there in a couple of days, right? It's a nice reminder. This actually was just a fairly common and standard practice before the pandemic, and the pandemic hit, and that wasn't an option because everybody's working at home. But we're out of the pandemic now, and now we're in a spot where nobody really picked that up. So it's just a nice touch. It also helps you set yourself apart from the competition because not a lot of people are still doing it. I think unless they give you a timeline, like you said, like, a good rule of thumb is to follow up one business week from the day of the interview. So if you interview on a Tuesday and you don't hear anything back, pick up the phone that next Tuesday afternoon, probably about 3-ish. 3's usually when people are taking breaks. That's when I have my snack break. I stop working and I have a snack at 3 o'clock. I just do. And then like pick up the phone and call. And if you have to leave a message, great, that's fine. And then follow up with an email. But at least call, and if you have to leave a message, I can at least hear the excitement in your voice that you're still interested in the position. And then email, and you'll probably get a better response by email. I just noticed it just like from being even today, but like especially when I was in staffing, right? If you call me and I pick up the phone and I have to call you back, I'm in at least, I'm going to say a 7 to 10 minute conversation. I can respond to an email in like less than 2 minutes. It's more efficient. So yeah, you'll probably get an email back, but that's fine. You at least got some kind of response.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep.
Thanks for the question, Rhonda. This chat's blowing up. So Sharon Harris said that she got hired in the same company, did 3 interviews in 2 languages, and fixed their problem in the virtual interview. That's awesome, Sharon. And then Susan Tam said, as a recruiter, do you ever or often hear of why they passed, or is it always just kept in general?
Good question.
You can ask for feedback. Susan, you probably won't get it just because the company doesn't want to open themselves up for a lawsuit.
And sometimes the volume is really high. I will just be honest about that. I have run searches where we had, even now I can think of a role that we have open in. I think we have like 45 candidates who've applied for that role. And so of course, not every candidate who applies for a role is has all the qualifications, right? So everybody wouldn't necessarily get an interview for that role. But say hypothetically, we did interview all 45. If all 45 or 44, because one would be hired. So if 44 candidates asked me for feedback, that would be probably 2 days of work, right? So I can't offer feedback or, I can't provide that feedback to everyone. Yeah. There are occasions where if you have if you're down to like your 3 finalists, right? And then, 1 out of the 3 are selected, then the other 2, like they've been through enough of a process that I probably have really good feedback from the manager and could offer that to the candidate as to, why they weren't selected in that particular round. But when it's high volume, it's just unrealistic to be able to provide it fairly to everyone, just to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Hopefully that answered your question, Susan. Ashley, there was one question that we were just talking about a minute ago it was, and this will segue nicely to that last question about feedback, which is, how does my background compare to what it is that they are seeking?
Yeah, so that was a really good point that came up. So if a candidate asks me that, what I was sharing with Jason, what we were discussing is that if a candidate asks me, like, how does my background compare to that of other applicants, that's kind of a loaded question because it's almost asking me, assuming that I've been the one that's talked to all of the candidates, like, am I a good fit? Like, do you see me as being like the one? Like, do I have a good chance at this role? And so I would be very hesitant to answer that question for a candidate who asked because I could be setting myself up for failure and setting people's expectations either too high or too low, because at the end of the day, I'm not the decider, right?
Right.
So I interviewed 5 people. I sent all 5 people to the hiring manager, but at the end of the day, the hiring manager is going to hire who they think is the best fit based off of what they know the needs are. And so if I thought candidate B, like, this is the one, I think you have a great shot. Like, you have a MBA and nobody else that I've interviewed has an MBA. If I like really like pump them up and say like your qualifications are outstanding and then they don't get selected, well, now they're going to harbor a little probably resentment towards me because I probably like raised the bar and made them believe like you are the one, right? And then that could harbor resentment towards the organization. And so I wouldn't want to answer that question knowing that at the end of the day, I'm not the decider. So if a candidate asked me that question, I would just try my best to answer honestly, but without giving too much hope or too little hope, because I also don't want to like diminish someone's thoughts about their chance for the role, because like someone who I thought like, oh, they may not be the best fit, that may be the person they select, right? So I would just err on the side of caution if you decide to ask that question.
I think like when we get into an area where we're worried about what other people think and or feel, it's kind of tricky because we can't control that. If I had been asked that question as a recruiter, my response would have been, you wouldn't be in the chair having this conversation with me if I didn't think that you were somewhat qualified for the job, right?
Fair.
And like candidates need to come in with a lot more confidence. Again, this is why we practice and we have the practice interview program. It's the more you do it, because interviewing is a skill, the more you do it, the more confident you feel when you actually go to interview. And that's what makes the difference.
Agreed. Yep.
Let's talk about questions to ask hiring managers. Okay. I think, and this question came up, it was actually the first one that came up, which was, what does a typical day look like in this position?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I just don't really like the question itself. And I know, like, I've done practice interviews with clients, and they ask, what does a typical day look like here? Right? Unless you're in a position or doing a job that is completely repetitive and you're doing it over and over and over again, that's kind of a stupid question, because you know, and I know, things happen during the day. Right? Like maybe there was traffic and you were late to work and now you're late for a meeting, or you have to reschedule a meeting, right? Or something has come up and, oh my gosh, I didn't realize the deadline for this thing was today. I have to refocus and shift my entire day to get this one project done now. Things happen during the day. There's not a day to day, right? Yeah. Like we're doing the podcast right now, but like 2 things have already changed in my day that were supposed to happen today, and I had to adjust. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So asking what's the day to day like, not really all that great a question.
Yeah, I think when candidates ask about this, because it's even a question that I have sometimes, like, and I think I'm seeking more to understand the norms of the business, right? So there are some organizations where the norm is that everyone starts their day around 9:05. Like 9:05 is the norm. So when I'm asking what's a typical day like, it's my friendly way of trying to figure out, like, is this like an 8 to 6, 8 to 5? Is it like, are we sticklers for time? Like, what are people doing? Are meetings starting at 8:30? Like, and I think instead of asking it that way, right, where what's a typical day like, just ask what you want to know. Just ask it. Just like, hey, do we start at 8 o'clock here? Are we early morning people? Like, what's it like? So you can really put your hat on and understand, like, is this a good fit for me? Because if I know that I live in Timbuktu and it takes me 2 hours to get to work and meetings here start at 8:15, then this may not be the best fit for me. You know what I mean? So it's like, just ask what you really want to know.
I think that's the most important part of that, is to ask, like, don't dance around it. Just ask what the question's going to be, right? I think asking questions around or about culture really make the difference? And
Right.
those are questions for sure that you can ask the hiring manager. Like, for example, is there room for growth in this position?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to be just locked down to this one role my entire time here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I've said this one before. I love this question, which is like, so this is a hybrid role. I'm in the office 3 days a week. The team I'm joining, what do you guys do for lunch here?
Mm.
Sounds like a weird question, but how they answer tells you everything that they want to know, right? Because if they're like, well, we're just super busy and we just work through lunch at our desks. Okay, well, last I checked, most organizations don't pay you for your lunch hour, so now you want me to work for free. And also, if we don't have time to just take time for lunch, it could be telling me that you have a burnout culture. Or it goes the other way, and they're like, oh, you know what? Well, sometimes we'll go out, but most of the time we just eat together in the cafeteria. Oh, okay. Now they're fostering team environment. Right? Those kinds of questions really make the difference in helping you decide if you want to join the company.
Right. That's a great point.
So, Ashley, we have a quick episode today.
I know.
Ashley's got to run off to another meeting. So, today's fun question for the day is a would you rather question.
Oh, I love these.
Would you rather have hooks for hands or spears for feet?
Oh, hooks for hands.
Really?
Oh, yeah. When you have those dresses, I'm sure all those who have clothing with zippers in the back, I could just hook it and zip it up and no longer looking for a hanger. And, hooks for hands.
I'm going to go with spears for feet.
Why?
Because I could still be able to walk. And if I needed to, spear something like over there, I could still, grab something. And built-in defense system. Like, if you come at me, I'm going to kick you and spear you.
That's fair. But I could do that with my hardy hands.
Yeah, but you got to get closer. Spears longer.
That's fair. Hooks for hands.
So, would y'all rather have hooks for hands or spears for feet? Tell me in the chat. Ashley, thanks for being on the podcast today. Next week, you will be back.
I'll be back.
And we will be discussing how to resolve conflict on teams.
I love that.
Yes. In the meantime, we will see you next week. This has been Caffeinate Your Career. Y'all have a great week. Bye.
Bye.